Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All and misinformation. She's being camera shy today, so she's off camera. But we are on the final leg of, oh my gosh, where did we go? Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and then back through all of those states. So a multi-state road trip, 1,600 miles, somewhere in that range. Anyway, so we wanted to talk a little bit about Tesla supercharging on a road trip. It's incredible how good this stuff is, and I don't think people talk enough about it. So we wanted to sort of give several, I think I have like 7 or 8 points to think about, and sort of pro tips, but also just things to think about. The number one thing is, and we've been doing this only since the first road trip, the really long one was April of 2021. So it's been about 13 months. We went to Austin, Texas, and it was a little thin in terms of the number of superchargers, especially in like Alabama and stuff. But we've also driven, actually I guess before that we drove up the East Coast to my parents' house near Washington, D.C. And there were, you know, enough superchargers that you could get where you were going. But it was a little thin, you know, you were looking, you're like stringing it along and going like, okay, I need to make this one to this one to this one. There are so many more superchargers now. It is unbelievable how many more superchargers there are than there used to be. And that's really important, and that actually ties into number 2, which is favor 250 kilowatt superchargers. One of the nice things is you can use, there's a supercharger app. I'll put a link to that in the description here. It's a really nice little app, and you can just show a map of everything that's, you know, in the whole United States, and I assume the rest of the world. I haven't really looked for that, but it shows you all the superchargers, and then you can see where they are, and you can navigate to them. So what you want to do, a lot of times the Tesla app will sort of just take you to a 150 sometimes, and the difference between, when you're traveling, the difference between stopping at a 250 and a 150 is the difference between charging at a max speed of about 500 miles an hour and 1,000 miles an hour, somewhere maybe 600 miles an hour. There is a huge difference between the two of them. So what I often do is, and you can check this on the map when you look, the Tesla, like the road trip map, will put little red flags at each place, and if you push on the flag, so you can zoom out, right, push on the flag, and if it says 150 kilowatt, or God forbid it's a 72 kilowatt or something like that, you can then go onto the app and start hunting around for a 250 that's somewhere close by. And it may not work out, you may have to go to the 150, but if you can, favor the 250 kilowatt chargers. It's really amazing. Related to that, what you should always do is tell it that you're going to the supercharger. So sometimes what I'll have to do, like if you're going on a road trip and it doesn't want to stop at the 250, and it's a little annoying because it'd be nice to be able to add that, but you could, I guess you can do add a stop or something, but right, so add a stop, but then tell it you're going to the supercharger. Don't say 123 Main Street in North Carolina or something, because what it does is it starts to preheat the batteries to the proper temperature so that they'll charge as fast as possible when you get there. So you always want to tell it that you're going to a supercharger. If you just use the map that Tesla provides, it will automatically do that for you. But if you're not, if you decide to stop at a different place, don't just type in the address. Make sure that it understands it's a supercharger, because it'll heat up the batteries and it'll charge way faster. So that's also really important. The other aspect of this, of course, is use the Tesla app. Just navigate, right? You can just say, I want to go home, or I want to go to Austin, Texas, or whatever it is. Just put in that thing and it will route it out. Even if you use an app like a Better Route Planner, you should still also simultaneously use the Tesla map, because it will then know that you're stopping at superchargers and things along the way, and it will pre-process and make everything work. So you should always use the Tesla app maps. But you can feel free to use your own stops. Another thing, this is really interesting. We talked to a lot of people when we were traveling, because we went to the reunions and then we went to New York and talked to folks. A lot of folks ask about range anxiety. It's really not a thing anymore. It really, I mean, if whatever app you're using, the Tesla one works great. just put in the destination, it tells you exactly where you need to stop, what time you're going to get there, assuming traffic doesn't change drastically, and how long
have left.
Yeah, what you'll have left. So like you'll have 15% of your battery left or something. So you don't have to get stressed about it. And then it will tell you have to sit there for 25 minutes. So you can decide then to go and do something else. One thing I've noticed, I feel like the 250 kilowatt chargers, it says like stop for 25 minutes, but I think it's always faster than it says. So it'll say like stop for 25 minutes, and actually it only takes like 20.
I don't know why, because it's been accurate the whole time we've had the car. I feel like it's been almost to the minute accurate. Now it seems like it gets done about 5 minutes faster. I don't understand why.
And it pretty much is always related to the 250 kilowatt chargers, as far as I understand it. Maybe they changed their algorithm or something, I don't know. But anyway, it does seem like now if it tells you 30 minutes, you should plan that between 20 and 25 minutes you'd be ready to go. So the nice thing about that is, what is that? Under promise and over deliver?
Yeah.
So it's always nice. You can keep on going. But you really don't have to worry about range anxiety. And then the other piece of that is the trip graph. The trip graph is fantastic. I'm going to see if I can do this while we're talking. This will be an interesting thing. Click, and let's see, display, and turn this around. So there's the trip graph. This is really cool. If you go in, it's the little green, it's the app with the little green like wavy line, and if you put that on, if you click on it, it will tell you exactly where you're going to be. So you can see we're going to be at 24%, and we're in the green, and we're actually above the gray line. That's the projected line for how long it takes. So we know we're going to get there in plenty of battery. We don't have to worry about it. That's super, super helpful. That was actually the Wiz that told us about that. That was a really, really good, I'd seen it, but I hadn't really thought about it. But it really helps with the range anxiety thing, because it's like, here's how much you're going to go. You're tracking along just right. You're going to have this much left, and oh gosh, we're going to end up with crap all over the sorry, this truck is like spitting up pieces of gravel and stuff. Anyway, so use the trip graph. It will make you feel better about what's going on.
But it's very easy. I think people don't understand that it will tell you where you need to stop. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to have to plan. I don't want to have to think about it. And it's like, you don't have to think about it at all if you don't want to. You just get in and tell the car where you're going, and it literally tells you where to stop.
It's crazy. We could drive from New York to Los Angeles and not have to even think about it. It takes less planning than like doing other stuff. You just go Los Angeles, and it's like and just routes that whole thing, puts the supercharger in.
We decide that we want to switch it up based on what's around the supercharger, or what kilowatt it is, or that kind of thing. But if you don't want to think about it and you don't want to have to do it, you literally just do what it tells you to. And it does it for you.
It's pretty amazing. The other thing that we found it definitely is getting better in the past year is the number of chargers. So a lot of times you might go like, oh no, I'm going to drive to a location and all the chargers are going to be filled or broken or whatever. On the map, and let me see if I can zoom out and capture this too. I might as well. That's a long ways away. Let me go ahead and take a picture of this, and then we can see. So here you can see it says there are 5 chargers at the next stop currently. If I click the button, let's click on it. Oh yeah, this is great. Hadn't even thought about doing it this way, but if you click the button, it will then bring up this lovely interface, which then tells you there are 12 stalls, there are 6 available, and you can see down there's like little people, there's bathrooms, there's food, and there's Wi-Fi and all of that stuff. And you can just go and look around, and you can pre-examine what's going to be at the place, and it will tell you how many stalls there are, and it will also tell you the number of kilowatts, so that's how you know, but it will also tell you if any of them are broken. So if it says something like there's 8 stalls and 2 are broken or something, and you know that. But the really nice thing is it says there are 6 stalls available. So you just look at the little flag on the map, and it tells you exactly how much is there. If you press on the flag, it brings up all this information about the spot. It's fantastic. I mean, really, kudos to the Tesla team, not just for installing all of this stuff, but for also creating this incredibly nice user interface, because it makes it really easy. And you can, we saw the last one we were going to, there was a Walmart, so we're like, okay, so we can go into the Walmart and use the restroom, and pick up some donuts or whatever we want, and that's great. And you know how long you're going to be there approximately, so it's fantastic. Okay, and then a really, really good pro tip. I guess the last thing I'll talk about pro tip wise, don't sit there after it says you're ready to go. So let's say it charges up to 80% and you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit here an extra 10 minutes and get more juice before I leave. Now, certainly if you're eating lunch or something, don't stress it. Of course, you probably want to get back to the vehicle if it's a crowded place to make sure that you unplug and leave, to be kind to other people, but also to not get idle fees if that's the case, if you're going to be there for a long time. But if you're almost ready to go and you're like, oh, if I wait an extra 10 minutes, it'll help me further in the trip, it won't. Tesla's already calculated this whole thing out. The car charges the most efficiently between about 10% and 80%. And usually you'll notice that the time it tells you to leave is when you get to about 80%, because after that, the charge drops off really fast. So sticking around an extra 20 minutes only might give you 20 more miles or something, and that's not worth it. So the last really big pro tip is to just, when it says it's time to go, unless you are sticking around, like I said, on your own, for your own reasons, don't stick around thinking it's going to help a lot, because it really won't. Just unplug and drive away. Anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, I think in short, it also is really nice not to be paying $4.55 a gallon for gas. But I think in short, honestly, it's just so much easier to drive a Tesla on a road trip now than it is to drive a gas car, because you just don't have any decisions. If you don't want to make a decision, the car tells you it will drive you there. It's got autopilot, so it'll take you to the place you want to go. And of course, you can always add things and change things if you want to. But with other like GPS, like Apple Maps or Google Maps, it doesn't know you're about to run out of gas. It doesn't tell you where the gas stations are. It doesn't have a lot of that information about the vehicle, so you have to make plans yourself. So the Tesla is actually much easier than driving a gas car for a road trip. It does take a little bit longer because you have to stop for like 20 or 25 minutes as opposed to maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But in general, I don't know. I just find it much more relaxing to do this, and of course the fact that the car drives itself. So I know you have to keep your hand on the wheel, but it pretty much drives itself. All right, I hope this is useful. I think these are all really good tips for people who own Teslas or people who are thinking about buying them. A lot of this stuff does apply to other EVs, but not nearly as much, because the Tesla Supercharger network is just so darn good. Anyway, I hope you find this useful, and Misinformation and I are going to sign off and finish our trip back home. We'll see y'all at the ranch. Bye-bye.